Greetings and welcome, everyone. It's All You Can Geek Gamecast, episode 579. I'm one of your hosts, Jim Gass, joined by Mike Sneedy,
What's up?
Corey Feinside,
Ahoy.
and Tony Kokonakis.
Yo, yo.
Welcome, guys. Welcome, listeners and viewers, to 579 of the Gamecast, a very special Gamecast because it is our Game of the Year, or Best of, podcast. Or worst. We're going to be talking about that too. If you're not familiar with this format, we did it in the movie cast. We do our worst game, one, surprising game, one, and then top three games. I will use the definition that we played in 2022 because I played some bad games and I just didn't put them all on the list. I did make my game of the year, the game that came 2022. Did I say 2021? Oh, wait, sorry. 2021. Did I say 2022? Oh my god. 2021 that we played. This year we haven't played many games yet, but yeah, so I did. This list is from all of last year, and I did cross over a little bit, but we'll get into that. But yeah, guys, it's gonna be fun. Do we just get right into it? What do you guys think? Go. Yep. Let's just go. I kick us off with the worst. We're gonna start with the worst category. I don't want to speak for everybody else in this.
Let's call
I don't. Yeah. No, I don't give a fuck. No,
Yeah,
I'll call this worst.
I'll
call this worst. I will call this worst. I'm not going to speak for everybody else here.
The same one.
Yeah, I think we all had the same one for this.
I mean, oh, that's really weird. I haven't anticipated up here yet. Yeah. So my worst game, disappointing game, I did right. 12 minutes.
Yeah, 12 minutes.
See, I'm not even counting this one as a game, so I didn't consider it.
It's a
bad,
game.
Because it's for me, it's most disappointing, and I had no expectations of this going in.
I did. I was excited for this game. I really was.
I was. I remember seeing the trailer like 2 years ago or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Oh, that looks really cool.
Based off of your reactions to it, so.
You never even played it.
No,
Good call.
You guys said it was terrible.
Yeah, good call. Good call. It's just like when you told us Venom 2 sucked. I'm like, okay, well, I will not see that movie. Just like with Wonder Woman 84, I was like, no, I'm not going to see. It's not even like good bad. It's just bad.
It's just bad, yeah. Is this empty? This is the wrong one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta write these down for us while we do this. But yeah, so it was just such a disappointing game that
we're going to talk spoilers, by the way. So if you hear us talk about
there's spoilers.
You might want to just fast forward a little bit.
In the other podcast, we don't hold back on spoilers. Sorry, everybody, but you can't talk about a game and how good or bad it is without giving up some spoilers. So yeah, I expected so much more, and when you get to the incest part, it just was like, this is your twist. This is your twist you're giving us. Like, this is it. Really. I don't know. I expected such a better mystery out of this game, and it turns into this stupid shit. I mean, that's really a pile of shit.
I would say 12 minutes is about how long I actually enjoyed the game before it started to get really annoying, and then another 12 minutes for it to get like really bad. So yeah.
The repetition of it all to the point where I'm like, I didn't want to do things. Like there was times where I'm just like, I'm gonna let this fucker just come in and kill us. Like, that's it. I'm just tired of this shit. Like I'm just so tired. Like maybe that's the point of it because the character got that way too. I don't know. Yeah. But there's some really fucked up shit you can do. Like I sat in the closet like one time, didn't come out. You have that your wife is screaming, "Come help me!" And he's like, "Who else is here?" And you don't come out. And you just stay in there, and he just kills her and he leaves. And I'm like, okay.
Did you murder your wife yourself every now and then? I did.
Yep. To speed things up, I would just do that. Oh, and Tony,
is this something to do? Yeah, all right.
I love the point, like when she comes up to you to hug you every time for a freaking cup of coffee. You're like, no, fuck this. Get the fuck out of my way.
I don't know. Maybe it's my love of the old like 90s point and click games that were similarly like this. I wasn't as annoyed with this, I think. It was about what I expected. It wasn't good by any stretch, but I played it. It was silly. And I'm like, all right, that's that.
Tony, it was your worst, definitely, right?
Oh, 1,000,000%. Like, there's no way any other game I played this year came close to that level of disappointment and hatred and just, like, I regret playing that game. And again,
I didn't waste my time.
Anybody involved in that game, you should feel bad. Like, because you obviously read the script, you obviously knew the things that were going on. You're like, yeah, this is what I want to do with my life. I want to create a product like this and have my name.
There's such a better. there could have been such a better mystery there. There could have been something really cool.
That's the
and
thing.
just-
Is like
premise was
the,
really
the
neat.
premise was good. Like I remember on the E3 trailer when they talked about it, I was like, wow,
Yeah.
this is a really cool premise. Like, why is this dude trying to kill you and your wife in a time loop? It's like, okay,
In a time loop,
like,
yeah.
you know, you're just some ordinary
solving a
boring
mystery.
couple.
That sounds
They
fun.
did.
Yeah.
It
And
does
the-
get a little confusing with, Willem Dafoe being both
Multiple
the father
characters,
and the cop guy, and it's
Yeah.
like, is that guy really supposed to be his friend? And then again, none of it maybe even happened at all. By the end, you get one of those cop-out endings where it's like, maybe none of this even happened.
Yeah,
I
he
got
was
that.
on
That's
his
what I got
head.
from it.
Ball in your
A
head.
story with
Yep.
similar themes. That's way better. Spoiler alert: Old Boy is the way to go.
Yeah.
Yes, much better.
Yeah, so it's just like you're taking like the worst parts of like other things, and like the other thing is too is like when we're talking about shocking, like even that, it's like maybe if you had come out before Game of Thrones, like maybe that would have been more like shocking and
Old
like,
Boy,
oh
I'm
wow,
telling you, man, Old Boy is
dude,
the
I
best
know,
one of those.
I know, but like you know,
Nobody's
that
seen
wasn't
it,
a serialized series on HBO that took the world by storm. You know, stuff like that. So it's just super disappointing. And like the thing is, even beyond the story, the game was just bad. Like the controls were awful.
Non-intuitive. Like
Non-intuitive. Like I constantly fucked up just because like the timing was way more precise than the game needed to be. Like it'd be like, oh, like give me the picture or give me the picture, and I'm like trying to click on it and trying to click on him, and he's like, all right, I've had enough, and just like punches you, and it's like game. I'm like, great, I gotta go through this another fucking 12 minutes time loop bullshit to get back to the same place.
There was a point where you had to like you're tying him up in the bedroom and you shoot him so he can't get you.
Mm-hmm.
There was, like, and I killed him. I don't know how many times in that. I just kept killing him accidentally, and I'm like, I didn't mean to. I just want. I was like, all I want to do is maim you just a little bit, but I kept killing him accidentally. I'm like, Jesus
I
Christ.
just want to make you a little bit. Yeah, and,
So,
and it was just non-psycho because as soon as you shoot him, he's like, "Oh, you're fucking psycho." I'm like, "You broke into my house and tried to tie me and my wife up. Like, I'm not the psycho one. You're the psycho one."
Yeah. All right.
Just so
Mike,
bad.
what was your worst?
So I'm going by more disappointing. Again, that was about what I expected, honestly. And then now this isn't a bad game by any stretch, but judging by its fanfare and the parts that are good, that you feel somewhere in the middle, late middle of this game, how tedious it really was super disappointing to me, and that is Deathloop, which I finished recently. Deathloop,
Another roguelike game. Just keep doing the same thing over and over again.
yeah.
Maybe they're not working.
So the thing about Deathloop is when it does good, when it sings, it sounds like BioShock, and I loved BioShock. But the problem is it takes so long to get there, and it's structured in a way where you have to figure out, the premise is you need to kill like these 6 powered people, who are in like 4 separate places, and you got to somehow get them together to kill them all in one loop. We have and they're in different places at different times. Sounds interesting, except you don't really figure this out yourself. Your character does. You just do random things, and the character's like, oh, okay, so I can do that. And then more or less, it's kind of linear. Now, I didn't necessarily know this from the beginning, so for a while I was just wasting my time trying to freelance and not following the menu as far as how to file my leads. So I just wasted time. You can get power-ups freelancing like that, but you can only carry, there's all these abilities and you can only carry 2 at once, which seems very limiting, and after you get them all, you realize there's 2 that you pretty much need to have. They're so much better than the rest that it's stupid to even mess around with the other ones. And the game goes from being pretty hard with the number of enemies and you can't do anything to very easy once you get those 2 powers. It's to the point where you just clear out levels, which doesn't seem like it's the way the game is meant to be played. So yeah, I found it tedious and kind of silly, and just parts of it were real good. And late middle, it felt fun to do what you needed to do, but I don't understand how this game of the year or 10 out of 10 for so many things because it just felt not fun early on. like I almost
the
stopped
game's
playing it.
definitely a little tough, and like the shooting isn't the greatest in my opinion.
No, I went from playing Halo Infinite to this, and I'm like, I can't shoot. Like, what is happening?
Yeah,
But
no, it's tough going back between different shooters, but I found the story to be very interesting. That's where like it drew me in. I thought that they did that really well, but as
the
far as
story
gameplay goes, it
the
wasn't
story was
as fun
pretty
as
interesting,
the
although
matches.
there's a little bit of 12 minutes in there.
A little bit.
But you know, I mean, it's not. I would give it like a 7.5. I don't think it's a bad game, but I was disappointed just by
Yeah, because you had some hype with it, so gotcha.
yeah. Well, I also was ready to be disappointed because there was already the contrarian opinion out there that I saw that it wasn't as good as everyone said, and I tend to agree with that.
Oh, you let it sway you, Mike. You went in with negative eyes already. No, I'm
I
just
just the inventory and the way things are like, I just can't understand how you can't.
Yeah.
It's just tedious. You just gotta really have to do things over and over. I don't know.
All right, Corey, you're worst. Or you most disappointing.
Muted.
You're muted. Bumped it.
Dang it. I don't know how that. Oh, like a key binding or something?
Must be a key binding. Must have been a key binding.
My most disappointing is Back for Blood, the
Oh.
reimplementation, I guess, of Left 4 Dead.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to go into
That was
this
a runner-up.
thinking like I was like, all right, this is gonna be it. Gonna get like people co-oping and like
Get the
play
band
this.
back together.
Yeah, just kill some zombies and like have fun with it. And when I played, I was like, this is not what I wanted. This is not what I expected. I was like, it's whatever. It's just the alpha, whatever it was. I mean, there's more of the same in the beta. I played, and it's just like the thing is, it's not terrible. It's just there's this card system in it that I didn't really get why, and people are praising the card system. There are people out there that really like it, but I did not like it at all. So it just didn't go in the direction I thought it was going to go in, and that's really why it was disappointing for me. And it didn't make me want to get the band back together and play it because there's just better games that I'd rather play with other people. So, yeah, unfortunately, didn't make the cut, and it is my most disappointing. Back for
Right. Okay. Surprise. Corey, lead us off with your surprise of this year. Of
My
last year.
surprise of the year is Outriders.
It's mine!
That was almost my disappointing because by the time I reached the end, I was like very burnt out with it and sick of it. But yeah,
I didn't.
No, I mean,
yeah, I mean, I didn't get that. I didn't play it that long.
Outriders was like it came out of nowhere. First of all,
Yeah.
like, this budget title almost, but it did like so many things well that like as far as a looter shooter goes and quality of life stuff goes, it just did so much so well as that, and it made it like so much more enjoyable because you didn't have to fight with the things that didn't make sense. You could just do things because they made sense. The UI aspects, like, oh, do I have a mod on this gun that's going to help me? Yeah, I do, because I can just quickly look at this thing. It's like, yeah, this is going to help me here. I don't have to
Quality
dig
of
through
life.
menus
Yeah.
to find different things and like, oh, now I have to compare this with that. It's like, no, just do it. And it's like, do I want to upgrade this thing because it's better? It'll just tell me, yeah, this one's better. You don't need this because you've already got it. And it won't even let you like do things that are going to be bad for you essentially in the menu. And so just like quality of life when you're trying to just have fun and not have to mess with menus and comparing things and like all that stuff. It was just really well done in that aspect. And the shooting was really good. I really enjoyed the guns. And I thought that the powers were fun. And it made it interesting to play with the different characters. So like I was super surprised by the game.
This game wasn't even
I was too.
near.
I like
this game wasn't even near my radar. Like it wasn't even like not even on a blip until like everybody was playing it, and maybe that hit at that time that we wanted something more, like something new, just because of the year. And I don't know. I played it. I didn't get like all the way through the game. I never finished it, but I did play through a lot of it. And I thought the shooting mechanics of the game were so good. And then, like you said, the QOL of it, the quality of life is just like they took your great looter shooter collectible games that you love to play, and they're like, those were great, but what if they just had these little things in here that make it just easier to manage? And they're like, why don't they do that? Like, why don't we do that? And they just did it. And it's just like, so you're playing, you're like, oh yeah, that is better. Like, why can't Borderlands do it this way? You know what I mean? Like stuff like it's just stuff like that. You're just like, why not? And I'm hoping to see that in the future games because like inventory management just by itself was better. I really was surprised about how good that game is, and I was not expecting to even play it this year. So honestly, like for me, I almost put a different surprise, but it is on my list of the year, so I didn't want to put it twice. I just so Outriders to me gets that surprise category because I just didn't want to list the same game twice. So yeah, that would be my surprise of the year as well. Yeah, not that it was like again, it was still surprising. The game that for me that's been flip flopping between my of the year, my 1 and 2, is definitely surprising. But Outriders, I think deserves it. It deserves to be talked about. So
Yeah, definitely.
all right, Mike.
Oh, we're doing surprising. All right.
Surprise.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm gonna go with that was a surprise for me, and so is really 2 out of my top 3 games of the year.
No, you could do it. I just didn't want. I was trying not to do that, but yes, you could absolutely list the game twice.
I will list a specific event more than the game as a whole, and that will be Halo Infinite's multiplayer coming out early and being as good as it was when it came out. Then
I'm just gonna put down Halo Infinite, not that line, but yes, go on.
Yeah.
MP.
Yeah, the multiplayer came out early, which was a big surprise, and suddenly it became, the best multiplayer anything I've played since I don't know, Justice 2, Rocket League.
It's pretty bold.
Listen, we may hear about this game more, but this is the first battle pass I've finished ever.
Nice.
So there's that. Yeah, that's all I'll say for now.
Okay.
But I was surprised.
All right, well, I think I got an idea where this is on your list, but okay. I have more questions for you of that game, so we'll get to that. But Tony, what's your surprising game of 2021?
It sounds really silly, but it's going to be Mario Party Superstar. Just because
I wish I played that. Yes.
It with remakes, it's always weird because you're like, okay, I want to be excited for this, but there's too many times it's just like they try to change it up or they try to do something new and zany. It's like, no, just give us a remake.
Literally said we are going to put the band back together. They literally did that.
And literally that's all they did. They took the best mini games from across I think 5 or 6 Mario Party games or whatever like that. So almost all the mini games are fun and enjoyable because every Mario Party game I think has that bell curve where it's you have a couple shitty ones, a lot of average ones, and then a couple really good ones and stuff like that. But this is just hit after hit after hit, and it's just playing it with probably play it with 6 or 7 people, and it's so funny when a game pops up, people are like, oh, I remember this one now and stuff like that, and they just get super excited and stuff like that. And it works. It's just new models, quality of life issues that have been updated and stuff like that. And the game is still fun. So it's just awesome to see, 20 years later that they're still fun. It's the core foundation and the gameplay that matter. And now it's you don't have to hook up the N64 to play these games and try to get N64 controllers and potentially, hurt your hands while trying to rotate the joystick as quickly as you can.
Yeah. That's cool. All right, and that's our surprises. It's time for our top 3 games of 2021. I'm gonna kick us off with number 3 is a cheat. It is a cheat, and I only listen.
Boo.
This was honestly my favorite game.
Guys,
this was my favorite game. Because I didn't get to play this in 2020. It's not fair that it didn't make my list because it was fantastic. Yakuza Like a Dragon deserved to be Game of the Year for me. I love that game. And I didn't play it until this...
I guess it did come out on Game Pass this year.
It came out also on... It also did come out on PS5 this year. So it actually was released on PS5. So it is a 2021 release date, but I won't give it my Game of the Year out of principles because while I spent the most time in this game and probably... enjoyed it the most this year, I'll give it number 3 because it didn't really technically come out this year, but it deserved it last year. It really is what I just didn't play it last year. I didn't have time to play it last
I
year.
also played this game a lot
I
this year,
loved
and
it.
while it didn't quite make my top three,
It's so amazing.
I did like it a lot.
And
Yes.
Mike liked it. Mike, it's an RPG, and Mike liked it.
I mean, that's why it didn't make my
That's
top
pretty
three,
huge.
but yes.
That's pretty huge, though. That's impressive for a game. To get the Yakuza charm and incorporate it into a turn-based RPG, I thought that was crazy, but it worked so well. Like, I can't wait for the sequel. I
Just need
love
to
the
wait
game.
for
Absolutely loved it.
Injustice JRPG.
Yeah. Yeah,
By Square
that's
Enix.
true.
You know that just recently we didn't say it, we're not doing what we've been playing, but I've been playing Injustice 2 again. Because I know that the next game one is never coming anytime soon. So I just put it on my PS5 and I've been playing Injustice 2 again. Yep.
Nice. All right, Tony, you're number 3.
My number 3 is the sort of a cheat, but in a different way, of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles on Nintendo Switch. Technically, this is a port/compilation of 2 older 3DS games, but they never got localized because it was in that fuck Capcom period that we just got out of a couple of years ago and stuff like that. And then now, because Capcom's back on the rise and stuff like that, they're like, oh, you know what? This game never got localized outside of Japan, so why don't we throw these together, localize them, and release them? And there you go. You got a great game, 2 great games actually, and it's one after the other. And especially, I know we just talked about 12 minutes, but this is how you do a point-and-click adventure game with mystery and intrigue and character twists and story twists and stuff like that. And it's all enjoyable. It's just really well done. Makes me fall in love with the franchise again, because I think the last one, I didn't even really dig. I was just kind of like, okay, whatever. I'll get this eventually, and just dropped it. And this one was kind of like a clean slate because it takes place I think 100 years ago or something like that. And it's interesting because you kind of see the foundation of modern law system being implemented in Japan. So it's one of those things where well, that's how you used to do things. And then you have to kind of learn how they introduce those things and whatnot. But it's a really fun game. Hopefully, I think it was pretty successful for Capcom. So hopefully it makes them do another one soon. Yeah. And maybe I'll be talking about the sequel next year. And you do not fuck your sister in this game at all. It's magic. It's magic.
2 out of 5.
Winners winning immediately. All right, Mike, you're number 3.
My number 3, which is I'm sure a surprise for someone else, is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy. This game came out relatively recently, and obviously there was a lot of skepticism surrounding the release because its first trailer looked like shit, and that was coming off of Marvel's Avengers. Which
I think because of Avengers, I was very low expectation for that game. Very low. Yes.
And of course, people also have the gut reaction. Hey, that doesn't look like Chris Pratt. Not starring Chris Pratt this game, coincidentally. I know it's hard to believe.
Or voiced by Chris Pratt.
No.
Or voiced, yeah.
But in the end, this game ended up just being a tight, solid, story-driven third-person action game. Then it's also one of the first things, or the first thing I played on my PlayStation 5. And so it was fun. It's just the story is interesting. There's a little bit of Mass Effect vibes to it too. You explore your ship. You talk to your crew members. There is a reason why you're just Star-Lord, because you're sort of trying to build relationships. I don't really understand why he's the leader at all in the beginning of this, because that no one has any respect for him whatsoever. But that's beside the point, I guess. I don't know what happened before this, where they're all on the ship and they all kind of hate him, but he's their leader. But whatever.
They gotten by before this, but yes, it's got it. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, it's just fun. This gameplay is solid, if a little unremarkable, but it's fun when it happens. And there's enough collectibles and secrets too to keep you interested in finding costumes and different conversation pieces. So it's just a really solid game that kind of came out of nowhere. And it knows what it is. It does what it wants to, and it's not any higher just because the gameplay itself is just okay, but definitely a surprise and definitely a lot of heart in this game. So it's a good one.
Yeah. Good.
Mhm.
Corey, you're number 3.
Yeah, that could have been my. That was almost my surprise. But there's so much like talk about it by the time I played it. I had expectations already. So
Yeah.
well, so here's my cheat because we all have to cheat a little bit. And my number 3 game of the year is Destiny 2's new content for 2021.
I mean, technically that's fine.
I mean, the stuff
Still
that they
cheat.
did this year was
Yeah, I
so
know.
good.
Yeah.
This is the best Destiny's ever been, in my opinion. Even better than Destiny 1. Like, I know people love to like, oh, Destiny 2 sucks better than Destiny 1. Like, people forget like how bad Destiny 1 was at times.
I don't forget. I
Like,
remember,
the
but I remember
stuff
how good it
they've
got.
done. So like
Yeah.
they've implemented these seasons, and the seasons have these themes to them, and the storylines that go into these. Like this, there's so much story now in Destiny 2, and then they've added the 30th anniversary stuff, which is just amazing and so much fun. And so yeah, like Destiny 2, it'd probably be number 1 if I like really thought about it, but I didn't want to give it number 1 because it came out so long ago. But the stuff that they released this year deserves to be on my list.
Yeah, I mean, it's a game that I definitely would like to go back to and try because Destiny 2 original was just very disappointing. But then if Destiny 1, like you had said, was very disappointing. So
it's hard to come back to. Like it's not easy because how much
I know.
stuff there is now.
That's the problem I run into. It's overloading. Like I don't know. It's almost like WoW. Remember Tony with WoW? Like you leave, you can't come home again.
I'm going to talk about something like that pretty soon. But before we get to number 2s, I just want to do a shout out because we have a first time chat from a viewer on Twitch. I hope I'm saying this right. You get meet 53, who said Marvel greater than DC. To which I replied, "Heck yeah, my name." And then he's asking us our favorite superhero, or them. Sorry, I'll answer. They are. My favorite superhero is Spider-Man. If you go back a couple weeks, you can find our episode for No Way Home, spoiler cast, and basically gush about the character there.
I mean, for me, Spider-Man would take that front, but I mean, if you go with like just an occasional hero, I mean, Magneto is still my boy. I love Magneto. But he's not really a hero. He's like the anti-hero.
He has been a hero for a while, I think.
I know, but Magneto is my favorite Marvel character. I would say that without a doubt. So I'm excited to see what Marvel does, Disney and Marvel do with him on the screen. But Spider-Man is still like such a like impactful person. Like even just his character throughout life. Like I was home all week and I had the Spider-Man the animated series on because I'm like it's just something I want. The comfort stuff. You're just like stuck in your house and like I'm gonna put on stuff. Like I watched X-Men the cartoon and I watched that and I'm like so I have seen Spider-Man and Magneto this week. So that's for me. That would be me. But thank you for that question. I mean, what else?
I think mine and Mike's are the same. It's Batman.
Yeah, you can't talk superheroes without Batman. I feel like he's just prototypical.
Nah, I just love Marvel. Like,
and
DC's
I just think
just...
I just think
we're just talking about it. Don't be negative.
Part of it is he has no powers, but it's sort of like his principles and his commitment to like what he's about that makes him a superhero. I kind of view him as like the Michael Jordan of like superheroes. Like he's obsessed with his shit, and that's why he is what he is. It's not just about powers. Like I do feel like a lot of times in Marvel, everyone can do whatever they want, good or bad or indifferent, because they're just people with powers. I think Batman is someone you aspire to more, and not just like, oh, he's just like us. So that's more why. Although to be fair, my 2 and 3 are Marvel heroes. I like Wolverine and then Spider-Man 2 and 3.
Like, where's Wolverine on your list, man? You got to be. I knew he'd be up there for you. Weren't you arguing that he was bigger than Spider-Man? Weren't you arguing?
Yeah, at one point in the '90s, I think he was right there with him.
Anyway, let's get back to our list. Just wanted to do
Corey didn't give his answer.
He said Batman.
Batman. Okay.
I think he has the best rogues gallery, and it just
absolutely.
Oh, definitely
the psychological aspect of Batman is just
absolutely. All right, Corey, you're number 2.
Oh, my number 2. So my number 2 is a PC game that I played with a bunch of friends that I play board games with actually, and it's Tribes of Midgard. Tribes of Midgard is like a survival game where you're just trying to survive for as long as you can, and like build your fort, get materials, come back and do all that over again, and just basically survive. But I guess it's not like a great game. It's just like the experience of it, and like when I'm thinking about my best of the year stuff, I'm thinking about the moments I had that were the most enjoyable, most fun. And I don't think we've seen this on any game of the year stuff anywhere, but just the amount of fun that I had with the people that I played with, and just doing the things with them is what made this game so enjoyable. So yeah, Tribes of Midgard.
You talked about that for a while. I remember you playing that for a while. So
really,
yeah.
like it.
Okay, cool. Mike, you're number 2.
My number 2 is actually my most anticipated game of this year, and that was Lost Judgment.
Nice.
As we know, pretty much since the pandemic started in 2020, I've been playing these Yakuza games, so I'm all caught up. I played, well, all the mainline ones and the Judgment series. I played the first Judgment about a year ago, and I really liked it. It is a spin-off, kind of, although there's not, as far as characters, there's only like certain vendors in the city that are the same, and there's one overlap this time, which I won't spoil who that is, but it's not that interesting anyway. But so this is the old school Yakuza, third person action, version of the game, which I prefer. So I enjoyed that. I do miss that there wasn't a battle arena in this, and this is deep cut sort of Yakuza fan complaint, because that's where you can just go and once you unlock all of your abilities, you can go and just play with them in there and try to get higher scores and stuff. But it's not in there. You just have to wander around or do sort of side stuff, which has all these other constraints, which I don't particularly like. But these games are real good. The story is good. It's not the greatest story in Yakuza, or I think the first Judgment was a better story. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not quite as good. But you have the new Snake style fighting style is real fun. Big parry and counter based style, and they have the side missions, especially the school stories. There's just such a variety of mini games to play, and most of them in this one are pretty good to just inoffensively easy, are like the worst ones. But we have so just the school stories alone, and if you're going to play this, I don't know if you've started this yet, Jim. Have you?
Not yet. No, it's on my Guardians has to be finished. Yeah, just at the end.
I would say do the main story, but the school stories are like the side story campaign. You probably should do that, because that's where you get the big variety of mini games and side missions in there. You got a BattleBots thing in there. You get you play Virtua Fighter 5 with the school esports team. There's a skateboarding mini game, which isn't so great, but it's there. There's lots of stuff, and it's just the whole package. I put probably the most time in any single player game this year, probably 75 hours into that game. So it's definitely good. It's definitely up there. So yeah, Lost Judgment. If you're a Yakuza fan, you're gonna like this game.
Cool. Tony, you're number 2.
My number 2, going back, I believe about 5 minutes ago, is something could potentially have been number 1, but it has a little bit of baggage, and it's hard for me to just be like, yeah, you should play this game, obviously, because it is an expansion to an MMO, and that would be Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker.
Nice.
And the thing I could say about this, the best praise I can give it, it does for the MMO 14 what Endgame did for Marvel, the last 10 years of Marvel and stuff like that, because that's truly what it is. It's a payoff to the game's 2.0 relaunch, and they do it in a way where it's just you're seeing plot lines close, you're seeing stories and their characters playing out the way that people had been speculating or hoping, or
respecting people's time and effort they put in.
Right,
that's huge.
Right, exactly. It's just a little bit of a hard sell, because I'm like, hey, you guys should play this award-winning, critically acclaimed game, but before you get to that, you got to play 4 JRPGs worth of content just to get to this point.
Yeah.
Or it's just
Wow.
like,
Yeah.
and the thing is, it's funny because the community's even talking now that there was a definition finale to the story arc, and I will say exactly kind of like, how Endgame finished that chapter of the saga, like, right, the Infinity Stone saga, like, where do they go from there? And it should hopefully be a clean start so that if new players want to come and join a board, they don't have to do 10 years of content to be caught up, because it's just, it gets to be a harder ask, because it's like, hey man, you're going to play through 50 hours before you get to the good part of the game. Then you have to play 3 expansions worth to get to today's expansion. And then in the next 2 years, when they have the next expansion, it'll be like, nobody's going to play 250 hours of a JRPG to get like to the where they need to get caught up and stuff like that. But aside from the story and stuff like that, the gameplay was fun and modernized. Every expansion, kind of like WoW, they just refine things a little bit more, make things quality of life for different classes, different jobs. The music is absolutely banger. Like, probably this expansion had my favorite tracks out of the whole game, and it's like ones I still listen to and stuff like that. And just the response to it, like I believe it's the highest rated FF14 expansion, which was a tough sell because I think Shadowbringers got like a 93 on Metacritic, and this is at a 94 or something like that. Technically, it was the highest rated PS4 game last year that was released according to Metacritic and stuff like that. So it's really good, really fun. Looking forward to what the rest of the expansion does in the next one. But yeah, cool. That's it.
Cool. All right. My number 2 was Guardians of the Galaxy. This was a decision that I'm at the end of it, but I didn't finish it. I thought I would finish it today, so I couldn't. Like, I was actually wrestling with this being my number 1 game, but
you were really high on it, so
I really enjoy this game. Like, I really, really love this game. I am 90% complete of this game, like maybe 95. Yeah, I the only thing that happened, and like Mike had said when he did it number 3, like, I'm playing this game and I'm realizing like the combat is just, it's just not good. It's not good. I'm like, and I think about like, it's just repetitive. It's not that it's not good. It's fine. It's just repetitive and just, I do the same things every combat. I was trying to think back to, I was trying to think back to his Mass Effect, and I'm like, I love Mass Effect combat, and that's what I think this is, but I don't remember being this bored with Mass Effect combat.
There's the whole RPG thing where you can, choose your abilities and
this has a little bit of that, but it's just not.
Is very
it's
not
not
really
expansive enough. Yeah, like I feel like a sequel to this game could be really good. Yeah. This is such a. It should have been my surprise, but I gave it to Outriders because it's on my list. It's number 2.
Yeah.
And in fact, it was like, honestly, until like an hour ago, I'm like flip flopping in my head. Not an hour ago, like 6 o'clock tonight. I was like, should it be number 1? Or should it be number 2? And the reason why I went with this one at number 2 is just because, just depth-wise, it's not as in-depth. It's not as, like, I'm having fun with the game, but it is very straightforward. And while there is some branching past, Mike, I love the collectible aspect of it. And this is the perfect level of collectible aspects. Like, it's not very
often.
Do
you like being yelled at by your crew members whenever you look for something?
Yes, I do. I actually enjoy the banter. Like, that's what I love about this game, but that's what I love about Mass Effect is the interactions of the characters. There's just not enough. And I understand Guardians of the Galaxy is only 4. But, and this one has Adam Warlock, which is such an awesome character to find. And I don't know much about his character, but I'm loving that character in this. And I just was like, Rocket, again, you guys hit a Rocket. I think Rocket's been great in this game. Like, he just fit what I wanted from that character. Like,
I mean, he's an asshole character, and it's polar. But I think that's
perfect.
I think that's
perfect.
A great depiction of a character, because you have people that will love him, and you have people that hate him.
He still tries to do the right thing. Like, there's a moment in this game where he saves your team. He's
a lovable asshole. A lovable asshole.
No, I get that. But as yourself, as Peter Quill, I'm always like, fuck you, Rocket. You're fucking me.
Yeah, I agree with him. There's a couple times I have sided with Gamora and stuff like that, but in conversation pieces. And I haven't seen much of my impacts of choices, so I'd be interested to hear about that.
Payoff for closing that damn fridge door every time I was in the
Yes, I have done that. There's no payoff for that? Is there a payoff?
I'm just saying I just wanted a bigger payoff. Is all.
I don't even remember. Did someone mention something? But I think there was a word.
Jim has to play it out here and see.
I had to play it out, but I keep closing that damn door. So okay. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm very much enjoyed this game, and it was really surprising. Like it's very good, very tight, very. After Avengers, like I was not expecting this kind of a level of a game, and it made of the year list for most. Like Matt Piscatelli, I think was his game of the year, and I understand that because the story's excellent and the characters are great.
Oh yeah, I mean it was a surprise of the year for me, not the surprise. But I was actually high on it like ever since I think the first trailer, and I think everybody else is kind of like down on it because of the Avengers, and I was just like, I don't know, like this is single player, no DLC, like it has everything going for it. Yeah, it has everything going for it.
Single player. They didn't try to tie in microtransactions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was great.
It really is. It's one of those things. If they just make the gameplay a bit more in depth, maybe even more characters, even if you have to go outside of the Guardians themselves as like mission guests or something like that for the sequel, I can easily see that being like game of the year material because everything else like lines up. The music, the settings and stuff like that, the characters, like the writing, it's awesome.
Man, the music. I don't know. Is this game going to be like playable in 5 years?
They actually have. And that's the thing is, I don't think we've talked about it. But this game has amazing accessibility options, and they actually have a toggle in the game for example, streamers if they want to stream this game and they don't want to get DMCA'd,
copyright infringement.
They can just click this thing and it turns it to original music, and it's like feels like the music that you're trying to emulate with the 80s stuff, but it's legal and stuff like that. And that's just one of the features that they do at accessibility. I mean, for me, I turned the game to normal. I think it's on normal right now, and damage is on like high, I think, or something like that. But just so I can get through the rest of the game, because like honestly, it's one of those things where I'm not challenged by the game, so it's like if I'm not challenged, I'm just gonna fly through it because it's just, do I want to play a 15-hour game or do I want to make it a 20-hour game? I'm going to go with 15.
Gotcha.
So I'm just going to pump up the damage output to high.
Maybe I'll just finish that off like that too.
Yeah, I mean, like, none of that shit's challenging.
Some of the enemies do feel bullet spongy later in the game.
Yeah, and
I've gotten to those, and I'm just like, you're sitting there shooting, like I'm standing there just shooting forever, and I'm like, okay, this is where it gets kind of dull.
Yeah. And that's the other thing is like, Peter's dual blasters. They just felt like pea shooters. It's like
the standard fire. The standard fire does not feel good.
Yeah. No, he even jokes about that. He's always doing pew pew pew, and I'm like, yeah, that's about right, man.
Yeah.
So, no, but it's a great game. And
it is a great game.
It's really like it makes me think Mass Effect 1 to Mass Effect 2. Can they pull that off with a Guardian?
Absolutely.
Like that would be awesome. So, because it has that same style, and I really would love to see it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's my number 2. All right, we're at the number ones. Number 1 for me, which I don't think could be a surprise. I don't know. Metroid Dread, which took me forever in a day to complete. Honestly, that's why Guardians was challenging it for my number 1 slot. But because it never really 100% sank its teeth into me to finish, but I was still drawn into playing it. But ultimately, thinking back about the combat, the technical, it's a complete opposite of Guardians to me. Guardians is really strength is its story, and Metroid is really based on its gameplay, and just the different ways as you power up throughout the game. It just elevated it more and more as you played, and it also rewarded you for to learn. Like, this is what I loved about great games, and Nintendo has this mark. That's what I can't pinpoint exactly what it is, but I will get my butt kicked right for the longest time in a game, and finally I'll get past that point. I'll do it. I'll do that what they need me to do, and then from that point I've got it. I've got that. It's taught me how to do it, and I'm good at it. And it's a mark of a great game, and that's what this game is about. It's got that aspect. It was like Ori. Remember Ori? I played Ori had that similar thing where it's really timing based and gameplay wise. And I struggled on certain spots, but once I got that point, I'm like, okay, I got this thing down. I've got that aspect of it, and I rolled through that section once I got it. And that's, like I said, always been a mark of a great game for me, is when you struggle like crazy, not to the point where I quit, but to get me to really want to really challenge me to finish it, and then I get better from it. Yeah. I get, you know what I mean? That's it.
I think a lot of it has to do with a difficulty curve, because there are games where it's just just because it's the low-hanging fruit. Dark Souls games, or any From Software modern games, where it's some people will just straight up be like, I can't do this. Like I can't ever see myself doing
That's
this.
me.
So
That's me.
like I'm not, and there's no accessibility option. So it's just like,
That's
just just give up. Whereas like that is typically their games are just like, hey, we're going to introduce the mechanic, whatever it is. Like the new power up, generally the new power up you get is what you have to master to get to the next section. And then you have to master it for that next fight or something like that. So it does it in steps. It's like, okay, hey, you got the grapple beam. Here's how you use it. And it's like, okay, cool. You got out of the room. Like that's step 1. And then it's like step 2, you have to figure out where to use it in the overworld. Okay? And step 3 is like, hey, you have to use it for the boss so you can avoid this fucking attack that is pretty much like room wide and stuff like that. And then once it clicks together, you're just like, oh, like galaxy brain kind of thing.
Yeah. It's exactly what Ori did. Ori has the same pattern as this. It's like, here's your power up. Remember this because you're gonna need it, and then like you're gonna use it right away just to learn it, and then you have to incorporate it, and then you have to build on that with something else, and you know what I mean. You have to expand it as you learn it, and that's exactly what Metroid did. Like here's your starting weapon, and then you get it powered up, and then here's your soup, and then there's a little power up section. Now you have to use this together, and it kept building and building and building, and that's what I loved about Ori, and that's what I love about Metroid in general. That's maybe why I loved Ori so much, is because it's very much like what Metroid has always done, and this game is extremely well done. It is why it got hate from whatever that shitbags thing was.
I'm not going to name his name. He doesn't.
Yeah. Why it got that, I have no idea, because it everywhere I went in the game was very straightforward. If you understand Metroid games or even explore a little bit, like it's just blatantly obvious. Like when you look at things, like there's a couple times I got stuck and I'm like, oh wait, there's an enemy there it's for a reason, and okay, this is why it's like a marker, and I kind of learned that, and it's my game of the year without a doubt. It was excellent game by Nintendo this year. I was not expecting it either. Could have been my surprise.
And that's actually what I was going to say, because this is my game of the year as well.
Okay,
and that's why I didn't want to call it the surprise of the year, because at this point last year we didn't even know this game existed. This is one of those examples of Nintendo just being like, oh hey, by the way, in 6 months, new Metroid 2D game. It's like, wait, what? Like, and normally that's something that like you hear about, years in advance, like, Metroid Prime 4. We could point to that as an early example of a game that, they probably shouldn't have announced, but they needed to so they could not get heat for announcing a non-Prime game and stuff like that. But Dread is just like a 2D platforming action game, like boiled down to almost a perfection, just because, I complimented... what is it, Mercury Stream or Mercury Steam, whatever the name is, for Samus Returns back on the 3DS. And it was a shame that game came out the same year that the Switch did, and then Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, pretty much stole everyone's attention that year, because that was a really great remake of a game that absolutely needed to be brought back into like, 2020, the 2000s, because that game was like a Game Boy game from 1990 or something like that. And it's like, that's a rough game to play. But this, like, they learned, they cut their teeth on it. And these guys had worked on that, on these franchises. They had worked on the Castlevania 2D games for 3DS and something else. And they also made that Batman Arkham whatever game for PS Vita or PSP and 3DS or something like that.
Blackgate, right?
Yeah, Blackgate. So they'd done their homework with 2D, platforming action adventure games, and Nintendo was finally like, all right, we like what you did with those. Give Metroid a try. And the first one was like, hey, we just kind of like give them a softball, semi-quasi remake. And it's like, now it's like, hey, you get a full-fledged brand new game. Go nuts and stuff like that. So yeah, story, I mean, it's passable. It's just enough to get you interested and be like, all right, here's the hook. Here's why I'm on this planet, what I need to do. But the gameplay is just, the evolution of Samus is just, it's one of the most rewarding feelings in gaming, because at the beginning you feel so weak and so isolated because you're a one-woman army. But each power-up just adds to your arsenal, and by the end of this game, you're this pretty much unstoppable force of science or nature or whatever you want to call it, and you're just obliterating every enemy in your path, save for bosses. But
that's what I got to.
Yeah, the only downside I could say about the game really is like its music soundtrack probably wasn't the best. I can't think of any memorable ones outside of like so that's the one I would say like try to work on. I would
argue repetitive mid bosses, they're all pretty similar. The robot sentinels,
the MEs,
sentry boss. The MEs, I felt like not even the MEs, but like the actual like the spear bots, the spear ones. I felt like they were all very, very similar like too similar in my opinion. Like once I got their timing down, I think the last one threw me for a loop, and that was about it. Everything else was pretty straightforward in fighting those once you get the timing.
Yeah, I could see that.
So,
I think the thing was they wanted to make sure that the players had mastered the counter mechanic, because you absolutely cannot beat the last boss without using the counter mechanic. Like it's
trust me, I know.
Yeah, no, I know.
So yeah, but yeah, it was, and that last boss was great. Again, like last boss was fantastic, but I would have loved to have to use my arsenal more on him next time. Like I feel like that could have been better, but it was counter based, like you said. That was really what that was about, was building up for that counter, because that's really his thing. But I felt like I could have used more of my overall abilities. Like I felt like the super bomb was not used as well as it should have been. I guess I just felt like that was
actually you can use the.
I did use it at the end.
You can use the power bomb to counter his.
The power bomb.
The sun move, whatever he does.
Yep.
And
I figured that out accidentally, but yes, yeah. So that did help me in my last fight with him, but I felt like there was some definitely aspects where it was kind of, again, it was trial and error, but it was good. It was a really good game.
Yeah.
So. All right.
It's good to hear that Metroid's back as far as
goes. Yep. Looking forward to more. Mike, you're number one.
My number one, and it's confusing because it's hard to count it all as one thing, but I'm going to say Halo Infinite.
Multiplayer and single player?
Yeah.
The package.
This is the single player is the most fun I've had in a Halo game. Single player, probably ever.
Wow.
But I don't like the single players that much in Halo, but just making the sections open world and having the grapple shot in this is just changes it enough. It makes it just very interesting and different. You're flying around, you're recruiting Marines, you can find a vehicle and take them to the outpost to take it over. The sort of light open world aspects of just having assassination contracts or outposts to take over is just enough to not to make it good, but not like a crazy tedious thing either. And it's just fun to get around. It just adds speed and openness to Halo's single player that's never been there. The story itself, well, I never really cared too much about the Halo stories.
Something with Cortana, right? It's just
I vaguely remember what happened in Halo 4. I didn't play really Halo 5, but there's just some vague references, and it kind of works that way anyway. You start out, and it's serviceable. The worst parts of it are when you go inside and play like old school Halo, and then it's just like, all right. But the single player was surprisingly good. But then again, we got to go to the multiplayer, and I said before, to bring Halo back needs to be something based on its physics engine and some of the more the hijinks that you can come up with, and they did that with the equipment, the repulsor and the grapple especially in this game, and the balance of the weapons. There's clips all over YouTube. There's ridiculous nonsense you can pull off with the physics in this game. You can repel grenades or even rocket shots or even tank shots with your repulsor if you time it right. You can grapple weapons to you, or you can pull yourself back off after you've been repulsed. You can hijack vehicles with the grapple. There's so many things that the physics allow you to do. You can blow up grenades by shooting them. You can hit someone's equipment with a bullet and it'll stop it, or just all sorts of fun stuff like that. And it just adds a great layer to it. And yeah, the weapons are balanced, I think, more than they've been in any other. This is probably my favorite. It's definitely my favorite shooting experience online since Halo 3, for sure. I said, I finished the battle pass, grinding there, and yeah, I rage all the time too. I get killed a lot, and it's broken. The game is also the game is also unfinished and broken in a lot of ways too. It's got work to do, but it's the most fun I've had and the most time, and I'm continuing to play it. So there's a lot. The customization is still terrible. The progression is still pretty bad, but it's work in progress. I think they will fix all that eventually. It was free to play the multiplayer part at least. So
shout out to Microsoft and 343 Studios for doing a good job for a change, which is to be commended. You know, it only took them 4 tries to get there, but
we wrote them off. Like I didn't think they could pull it off. I never thought they could.
Yeah,
I thought that was the wrong studio.
I'm excited to try the single player. It's the campaign, but I'm absolutely waiting until the campaign is co-op to do so because it's just how I play.
I do wonder how it's going to work with the open world aspects. It's not the whole thing, but
is it really open world? Like, is it like a small? Is it not? It's not that big, right?
No, it's decent. There's an area that is open world. Like the levels, the interior levels are sort of like their own places that you can go in.
Is it like Gears of War open world?
I don't know. I never played Gears of War.
The Gears 5? Gears 5 was like,
but it's pretty open. The open section.
Okay.
You have, your outposts and your things. And also, interestingly enough, there are hidden little armor things where you can unlock multiplayer armor in the single player by finding them and opening them up. And there's a little bit of progression for Master Chief as well. You can, armor cores increase your you can do your health or your grapple abilities and stuff like that.
Sounds like
Zelda. There's very light RPG elements, is what that means. But
okay,
no, it was the total package, and I'm pleasantly surprised, and I'm still playing it online.
So,
awesome, man.
It's game of my year.
Yeah, it's good to have Halo back too. It's what a world to live in.
Definitely. Corey, you're number 1.
Well, quick. I just want to shout out to Miles Morales because I did not list this.
I played that this year as well.
The 2021 game, but that was probably the most fun I had in the video game last year.
Impressive. Cool.
I also played that recently. It was probably the best short single player experience I've had.
It's so much fun, but that's Spider-Man though. What do you expect?
So,
It trims away a lot of the bullshit from the first game too.
The new powers are cool too. So, but my number 1 game was also my surprise game, and that's Outriders. Outriders.
Oh wow, number 1. Wow.
I knew
it was the second most.
Corey's a slut for looter shooters.
Yeah, I mean,
I was there with him. I was there with him for like a couple weeks, but once I hit the end game, I'm like, all right, fuck this game.
Yeah. No, I mean this game, they hit all the buttons for me, and then it improved on them like a bunch of times. And the biggest downfall for this game is that it just ran out of content. It just didn't have enough.
Button 1, looting. Button 2, shoot.
And so the thing of this is, I mentioned the surprise, the guns were so much fun. You need to have, if you're gonna have a looter shooter, you need to have all the weapons be better than the last one you get. And then the special ones, the exotic ones or legendaries, whatever they are, they need to be special, and they felt that way. I felt like that they did a great job there. And the powers, again, I really enjoyed having powers. And Halo is such a pure shooter, similar to Battlefield or Call of Duty, and that it's just just shooter. You're not really there's space marines and stuff, and they have neat things that they're doing. But I like the mystical aspect of having these super powered beings that are capable of doing things that are not natural. So Destiny and Outriders fits that bill perfectly. So yeah, Outriders again, talked about it. It was my surprise. I was shocked, and then this.
I'm shocked actually because it's I know you played a lot of it back in the day. It's just what happened
back in the day.
Long? Well, because that's the problem with these.
It is. It's a long time.
This is the problem with
what was that, February or something?
The last 2 years feel like it's melded together.
Really.
I don't remember 2020 and 2021 feel exactly merged.
2020 and 2021 were 1 year.
Yeah, it just feels.
It is. Shout out to Miles Morales because
no, but
it came out late in 2020.
I do remember you talking about Outriders like crazy, and it just feels like it's ages ago when it came out, but it's for months.
Because I wish it
just
had,
didn't have enough.
I wish it had more legs because there was just so much. Cool
Again,
stuff.
another game that could improve with a sequel, a follow up with more funding behind it.
Well, they're still doing DLC for it, right? Or they're planning on it.
Yeah, I mean, they just released some new stuff just recently.
Is there anything substantial yet?
I mean, it's the biggest new extra content that they've done, but it's not a big DLC that can really extend the game.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Having that was my problem with Outworld. Wait, what was the Outerworld? Outerworlds. That was the problem with that game. It was a great game. There just wasn't a lot there, and it was great. But
I still never played the There's DLC for that now, but I still never got
Yeah.
back to it. Because you have to
it just-
replay the whole thing
Outriders,
again.
I
But, like-
thought it had a pretty decent story too. I thought that.
Yeah.
It was better than I
Yeah.
thought. There was sort of a budget aspect to most of it. I felt it a little bit, but
Oh
yeah,
it
it
was
is a
a little cheesy. It was a little cheesy, honestly, but I liked
But I
it
think
enough.
that
I played
worked.
through
But
it.
that worked for it. It was cheesy sci-fi. That's what I mean. It worked for it. That's what I liked about it. But it worked really well in that game. So that's good. Cool. All right. That's our of the years. You want me to run it down one more time? I closed the book. But our top threes. Mine was Like a Dragon. Yogi's Like a Dragon. Guardians of Metroid. Tony's was Ace Attorney Chronicles. Final Fantasy 14. Is it End
And
Walker?
Mm-hmm.
Metroid. And then Mike's was Guardians, Lost Judgment, Halo Infinite, and Corey's was Destiny 2, Tribes of Midgard, and Outriders. That's our of the years, guys. Next week, TV shows. TV shows. That's TV shows is like, do we call TV? Streaming shows. Streaming shows.
TV,
but-
whatever.
It's
Yeah,
television.
so that's coming
It's
up.
an
Television.
episodic
Small
format.
screen.
Yeah, that'll be up next time. Until then, guys, write us allyoucangeek@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter. We're on Twitch. Thank you for viewing our stream. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, if
we'll
you
be
talk
on
to
here
us,
every
we'll
week.
answer you live like that. So
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
for
we
that.
do answer questions. We love questions. We are new to Twitch, so we've been on here for a couple weeks, but feel free to join in. Tuesday nights, usually 8 o'clock-ish, 8:05
Eastern.
sometimes.
Eastern.
Eastern time. We'll be on here. We'll also be on YouTube the next day. We upload our videos to YouTube. On iTunes for download whenever. So see you guys soon. We're out.